These are the best Fortnite Chapter 5 Season 3 controller settings, and this season is the most important season to make sure you have good dialed in settings, because with the new car meta and the mounted turrets, you need to be able to hit your shots this season if you actually want to hit Unreal. And I have some secret tips at the end of the video to get absolute beams, but also I'm going to go through every Fortnite setting that you need to know about if you play on controller. And I put timestamps down below, but if you really want to dominate this season, make sure to watch the full video so you don't miss any of the secrets I'm talking about that pro controller players are using. All right, guys, and we're going to hop right into my settings, and these settings apply to console and PC players. So for my PC guys, go over to window mode and make sure you're always on full screen, not windowed full screen. This gives you 30 milliseconds of input delay, and we want to make sure we lower that as much as possible. Then 1920 by 1080. Then VSync, also make sure you turn this off. That'll give you awful input delay. Then frame rate limiter, make sure to cap this at whatever your refresh rate is on your monitor. And rendering mode, you're always going to want to be on performance mode. And for my console guys, make sure you turn off motion blur. You're not going to be able to see it here on my screen because I am on performance mode. But if you're on console, make sure to turn that off, and also make sure to put on 120 FPS mode. Then for the brightness settings, this is all personal preference, and 3D resolution, we're going to make sure we have that at 100%. Then view distance on near textures, I keep mine on low, but if you do have a decent PC, you can turn this up a little bit if you'd like. Then meshes, you're definitely going to keep this on low to get the highest FPS as possible. And report performance stats, I keep this on disabled because I don't want anything running in the background. And next is our audio tab. So most of this is personal preference, but there are two things you could do. If you're on a low-end PC or you're on console, I recommend you coming to sound quality and turning this on low. This doesn't change a whole lot, and yes, you could still hear footsteps pretty good, but it will help a bit with performance if you're on a low-end system. Then for the subtitles, come in here where it says options and turn everything off or all the way to the left. That will also help a bit with performance. And next is visualize sound effects. Visualize sound effects gives you an absolutely massive advantage because you can see footsteps way before you would ever be able to hear them, and I have a really good headset, so I really recommend that you have this on. Now, if you're on a really low-end PC or you're on old-gen console, this will tank your FPS. So just keep that in mind while using it, but I think the trade-off is definitely worth it. And the rest of this is all personal preference, depending on what system you use. And next, we're gonna go into the game tab and come to matchmaking region right here, and make sure you do not have this on auto. You wanna manually select the server that has the lowest latency for you. Sometimes I'll get thrown onto Central or even West if my ping spike's really high, and Fortnite thinks that I'd get lower latency on Central or West. So I keep mine manually set to East because I don't want that issue happening to me, especially when I'm playing ranked. And toggle sprint I have on. Auto open doors, this is personal preference. If you mess up a lot of your edits, then go ahead and keep this on, but for me, I keep this off. And mantle activation, you want to make sure you have this on hold jump. If you have this on hold forward, all you have to do is walk up to a wall and you'll instantly mantle it, which, as you can guess, would be pretty problematic. So you want to make sure this is on hold jump, so you get that option to double click and then mantle manually. And same thing with hurdle activation, I keep mine on press jump. Now for our combat, hold to swap pickup, you absolutely want to keep this off. And the reason being is because if you're racing to get a floor loot off of spawn and you and an opponent land at the same time, whoever isn't using hold to swap pickup will get the item first. That's because whenever you use this setting, there's a slight delay with being able to pick up any item. And it's just a quality of life setting, so that's why I keep this off. Then toggle targeting, mark danger, and auto pickup weapons, I keep all of this off. Then for preferred item slots, you can select what items go in which item slots. So for example, my grappler will go in my third item slot. My SMG will go in my second, shotgun first, AR very last, and then obviously my utility. And the reason why this is the best way to set up your inventory is because if you pull out your pickaxe and go to take somebody's wall, then put your build mode back away, you only have to click once to get to your shotgun. Now, sometimes I see people use this configuration in their preferred item slots, and if I was to go to take this wall, then put my build mode away, I wouldn't have to click just once, I would have to click twice to get to my shotgun, to make an edit, to take a shot. So that's why having your inventory set up like this is the best in my opinion. And just pause the video here if you want to copy these down. The next, auto store consumables to the right, preferred item slots negates this, so it doesn't really matter. And reset building choice, you definitely want to keep this on. This setting will always make it where your wall is selected whenever you pull out your build modes, and this is really important for controller players because if you're box fighting an opponent and you get a wall like this and you want to edit this wall, you can't edit it while being a box away. But if you pull your build mode's out, you can edit it, and you want it to always be on your wall. You want your wall to always be selected so you can take a shot and reset just like that. Then disable pre-edit option, keep this off. This gives you a terrible edit delay, especially if you're on controller. The reason why Epic Games added this setting is because some people would pre-edit their builds just like this rather than placing it first, and then you got your builds looking like this, and this could definitely get you eliminated. But if you turn this on, that disables that feature, so I can't pre-edit my structures anymore. But unfortunately, this gives controller players a huge editing delay, and your edits just feel a lot slower whenever this is on. So that's why I recommend you keep this off. Then turbo building, you obviously want this on, and auto confirm edits, I recommend you keep this on both. But the reason I only have this on edit is because I use a controller scroll wheel, and what this setting allows you to do is just press your edit bind, then select and let go, and it instantly confirms your edit. But for resetting, I would need to select my editing bind, reset, then confirm it with my left bumper. But since I use a scroll wheel, I don't need it, so that's why I only keep mine on edit. But you should use both of them because they're super useful. Then contextual tips, you can keep this off, and this is all personal preference except Nvidia highlights. If you're on PC and have an Nvidia graphics card, this will automatically record in the background, and that takes up a lot of horsepower from your PC, and it'll give you some input delay as well, so keep this off. Then tap to search / interact. This is just a quality of life setting, and I recommend you keep it on. It's a lot easier to search chests. Then FOV minimum and maximum. This is just for mantling. This is not your regular FOV. You want this as high as it possibly can go, just for whenever you're mantling or hurdling in game. Then next, you want to make sure you have all of your replays off. This is also going to be recording in the background, and this will tank your FPS and give you lots of input delay, especially if you're on console or a lower end system. And for my PC guys, energy saving mode, turn this off. The reason why they added this setting was most likely for laptop players to save battery, but you don't want to tank Fortnite's performance because it's not getting enough power. This will absolutely destroy your FPS while you're in game, so make sure you turn this off. Then for rocket racing, if you play that, these are all personal preference, but I don't, so we're just going to go ahead and go to the game UI tab. Now, if you like how my damage numbers look and you want the easiest to see damage numbers possible, then use these settings. It looks really clean and it's very easy to see as well. Then for my HUD scale, I keep that at 75%, and this is mostly just personal preference, except creative runtime performance stats. Go ahead and turn this off. This is only for creative or UEFN maps, and turning this off can give you a little bit of an FPS boost in creative. And next, we're going to go to the gyro options. Now, turn all of this off or all the way to the left. I don't recommend you keep any of this on or use gyro aiming in general. Number one, it's terrible. And number two, you don't want Fortnite constantly searching for a gyro compatible controller in the background. So I recommend that you keep all of this off. And for keyboard and mouse settings, that doesn't matter at all. Controller gang on top. And next is the controller sensitivity. So for controller auto run, I recommend you keep this on. If you open up your map in game, your controller will start auto running for you, and I'm not even touching it. So it's a really nice feature to have. Then builder immediately, builder pro, definitely keep this on. This is an important one. Now, edit hold time, this doesn't matter whatsoever. If you're pressing and holding circle or B to edit any of your builds, your binds are just not optimal. So we're going to change those binds at the end of the video to make you a better player. So this edit hold time doesn't matter. Then slide hold time, this is the best sweet spot that I could recommend for trying to actually crouch and trying to actually slide when you want to. And reset camera axis, these are just some gyro settings right here, so these don't matter. And vibration, I recommend you keep this off. Vibration can mess with your long range aim, especially if you're on linear with a low dead zone, so I recommend that you keep your vibration off. Then quick weapon beta, I don't recommend that you use this. Epic Games added this as a different option for having to scroll through your items, but whenever you try to select any of your items in your item slot, there is a bit of a delay. So if I wanted to shoot my shotgun and instantly switch to my SMG, there's a small bit of delay there that has gotten me eliminated while using this new setting. So I don't recommend that you use this. Then for the controller sensitivity, I recommend that you come to use advanced options and turn this off. Then come to your non-advanced options and take these from 4.4 down to 1.1. Then go back to advanced options and turn your advanced options back on. Trying to describe what this does is really difficult, but think about it as an in-game dead zone. That's the best way I can explain it. This will give you a straight linear curve on your aiming joystick. And if you do some testing by taking this from 1 to 10 and then turning your advanced options back on, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. there's definitely a big difference there. But me personally, I get the best aim and consistency with my crosshair placement while building and editing on 1.1 on non-advanced options. Then for your build mode sensitivity, I recommend you go anywhere from 1.8 to 2.4. That is going to be the sweet spot, and everybody is a little bit different. But me personally, 2.0 is the absolute best build and edit mode sensitivity to also pair with 40% on your horizontal and vertical. These settings are used by tons of controller pros, and I hit absolute beams with these settings, and my shotgun aim is always on point, so I highly recommend that you use 40% on both. But if you are going to go a little bit lower, I don't recommend you go any lower than 38, because then you're going to have a hard time tracking your opponent if they're tactical sprinting in your box. So 40% is the perfect sweet spot for controller players in my opinion. Then for any of the boosts or the boost ramp time on the horizontal and vertical look speed, I recommend you keep all of this off. And down to the ADS sensitivity, if you want to hit beams out of the air, especially with the burst SMG, use 11%. This ADS sensitivity is the absolute perfect sweet spot, and I've got tens of thousands of comments saying that this ADS sensitivity is absolutely perfect. But I also have a little bit of a trick for you. If you come down to your turning boost ramp time and you put this up to 0.20 seconds, what this does is it slows down your ADS sensitivity from long range. It makes it a little bit easier to be on linear and get those really precise movements for tracking from long range. You can turn it to 0 and turn it to 20, then go into a training map or just play a couple games and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh my god, I have such bad drift stick. This is insane. By the way, guys, I have drift on both of my joysticks, and I bought this controller a couple of weeks ago. This is crazy, man. And if you also struggle with stick drift, I'll show you a little setting that I use in Fortnite to help out with that a bit. But yeah, guys, the ADS sensitivity there is absolutely perfect. Then look dampening time, you don't need this. Now, linear or exponential, you should be on linear, okay? And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Mostly every pro uses linear, and a lot of the pros that used to play on exponential switch to linear. There's only a few people left, like Reet, for example. He still uses exponential, but Reet has been using exponential for 5, almost 6 years now, probably on Fortnite. So he's extremely used to it. And in my opinion, use Reet's philosophy. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you're on Expo and you're used to it and you're good with it, then you don't need to change it. But linear is better. I promise you, if you switch to linear, you will have better mechanics if you're not super good at the game. Then aim assist strength, some people say turning this down to 97%, 99% changes stuff. It doesn't, and if anything, it just weakens your aim assist, and we want as much juicy aim assist as we could possibly get. So keep that at 100. And now for your dead zones. And if you're like me and have really bad drift, I like to keep my left stick at 15% because I don't want my character moving around much, especially if I have drift. I've literally fallen off my builds before while trying to aim at somebody, and it's the most annoying thing ever. So keeping your dead zone a little bit higher on your left stick is fine because you don't have to be really precise with it. But with your right stick, on the other hand, I have really bad drift. As you guys can see, the circle on the right there is to see how much you're moving your stick. And if I turn my right stick dead zone up a little bit, I wouldn't have absolutely crazy precision that I get while using a 5% dead zone. When I turn my dead zone up any more than about 8%, I get really choppy and I am not precise with my crosshair placement on controller at all. And no matter what type of controller you have, even if you do have stick drift, you're always going to want to keep your right thumb on your right stick at all times anyways, so the drift doesn't necessarily matter. If you're taking your finger off your joystick to click your face buttons in general, you need to change that anyways. So that's why my stick drift doesn't bother me with my gameplay that much. Then next, for foot controller, keep this off. This is the same thing with the gyro settings. You don't want Fortnite constantly searching in the background for a compatible foot controller. Just keep this off. And the rest of all of this is personal preference. Now, moving on to the controller binds. Quickly, I'm going to scroll through so you can see what all of my controller binds are, because I'm going to lay this out super simple for you because this is kind of complicated and I want to make it easy for you guys. So if you want to see all of my controller binds for pretty much everything, you can pause the video whenever you're ready. I'm just going to get to the very top here again just to give you an extra run through. But there we go. Now that you have my Fortnite binds, I'm going to show you my 4-paddle controller setup first. So if you have 4 paddles, this is what I recommend you use and what you bind your 4 paddles to. My top right paddle is my edit bind. My bottom left paddle is my reload/interact. My top left paddle is my build mode, and my bottom left paddle is my pickaxe. And the way I sprint on my controller is I use this controller scroll wheel attachment like I showed you earlier, but this attachment comes with an extra bind right here, which is a middle mouse button bind that I can bind to my tack sprint. So I can just press this and attack sprint all I want, so I don't need to take my thumb off my joystick to go and press somewhere on my D-pad. So in theory, I have the most optimal controller binds that you can possibly have. And if you want every advantage, I recommend you getting the same controller setup that I have, but just maybe a controller without all this stick drift, man. This is terrible. Or drift stick. I always say it backwards. Sorry, guys. Now, if you don't have 4 paddles or a scroll wheel attachment, I'm still going to give you good binds. If you only use 2 paddles on the back with no scroll wheel attachment, I recommend that your right paddle be your edit and your left paddle be your build mode and your down left stick to be your jump. Then your reload/interact and your pickaxe are going to be on Y and B. If you're going to take your fingers off your joysticks to press your face buttons, those are the 2 easiest buttons to press, not A and X. Those aren't as optimal, especially if you use a raise stick and a control freak like I do. Now, if you don't have any paddles at all, this is what I recommend your binds be. Your down left stick be your edit, your down right stick be your crouch, and your X or A button to be your jump. Now, it's default A, so I recommend just keeping it the same. So you're going to be pressing your left stick to edit your builds, and you're going to be pressing your right stick to take your builds out. And the reason why those are the best binds is because you want to make sure you take your finger off your joystick as little as possible. And pressing A to jump is the last bind that I would recommend either clawing or maybe getting it on a paddle somewhere if you can, to not have to take your finger off and press that, because that's a very, very important bind to be able to have, to be able to move around and build and jump and edit without taking your finger off your joystick so you can still aim. Then for the rest of your face buttons and the rest of your controller settings, it is all personal preference. But there is one secret I do want to show you for editing on controller, and that is to use your left bumper to confirm your edits. A lot of people just use confirm on release, where they'll press their edit bind, they'll select and let go like I showed you earlier. But I want to show you a side-by-side of me using confirm on release versus me confirming my edits. So this is just confirm on release. And this is me confirming my edits with my left bumper. As you can see, I can pop open a double edit way quicker than I can with just confirm on release. So only my single tile edits is the ones that I confirm. Now, if it's any type of drag edit like this edit here, I don't confirm this edit. Drag edits, I don't confirm. Wall edits, I don't confirm. This edit, I don't confirm. This edit, I don't confirm. Same with this one. I'm not confirming this edit, but this edit to go build a window and box in an opponent, I will confirm. Single tile edits are way easier to confirm, and learning this muscle memory is going to make you absolutely crazy on controller. There's barely any Fortnite controller YouTubers that ever talk about this, but it is a secret that all of the controller pros use. And guys, bear with me. I'm recording on the same PC because my other computer is broken right now, so I have a lot of input delay while recording, so I'm not very consistent at the moment. But just to reiterate and stress how important this is, learn it, try it, and really give it a good go. And last bind that is personal preference, but where I recommend to put it is your tactical sprint. If you don't have a controller scroll wheel attachment like me, and you have 2 paddles or no paddles, or you're playing claw, replace your ping button and sacrifice having this feature with your tactical sprint. So you can take this finger and sprint like this, or you can jump and take it and sprint like that. That's the most optimal way I recommend using your tactical sprint. Then for the controller binds for my claw players, I recommend that down left stick be your edit, Y be your build mode, and then the rest is all personal preference. Whatever easiest to press for you and whatever is the quickest to press for you while playing claw. The reason why I don't lay it out and show you guys in the settings is because everything is personal preference, and whatever feels good for you, you should do. There's only 2 binds that matter, is your build mode and your edit button that you're going to be pressing really quick and a lot. So those are the only 2 binds for claw players that I would recommend. But guys, that's all I got for you today. And if you have any questions, go in the comments and leave them down below. I'll try to reply to as many as you as I possibly can. And also, while you're down there, comment the secret keyword purple. I like to see who watches my full videos and who the real ones are. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, you're definitely going to enjoy this video on screen. I give you a bunch of Fortnite tips that are super helpful, and it'll definitely help you out this season. So go ahead and click the video, and I'll see you in there. Until next time, take care.